Hello, everybody. So, some of you in the comments section last week talking about MicroStrategy told me, oh, he's not going to buy because there's a quiet period. And actually, when you do a deep dive on this, when you do some research on this, you realize that it's more of a gray area, that quiet period. It's tough to predict whether he's buying or not, but I think a better indicator of whether he bought or whether he didn't buy is did he flash the buy chart? This is the buy chart, right? And on Sunday, he publishes that chart, and on Monday, typically, he announces a buy. So I think he bought. This past week. And I think we'll get to know tomorrow. And this is good that we can't predict, however. This is good that many people thought he wouldn't this week. It's good because this creates more volatility into the stock. And of course, people who placed, say, trades based around the fact that the bet that he wouldn't buy this week, well, you could get hurt if you have a trade on over the weekend thinking, oh, he's not going to buy, and then he ends up buying anyways. So I'm expecting a nice buy, and to me that's fine because I have no short-term dated options, and I know Saylor works for the long-term shareholder. Speaking of a long-term shareholder, I desire volatility. I want volatility. I want MicroStrategy to trade at a premium. This behavior, this unpredictability makes the stock more volatile, makes the stock trade at a premium. And when the stock trades at a premium, he can tap the ATM, he can issue more shares, he can print dollar bills for $1.96 in the case of the latest price to NAV. So printing a dollar bill for $1.96. By the way, this video that I posted yesterday, I knew it wouldn't get many views, but I hope it's going to be an evergreen video that I will refer to in the future. This is the full explanation of the math, a full explanation of how yield is generated by dilution, by diluting. Diluting via the ATM is good when the funds that you get into the business are turned around right away and invested into Bitcoin. It works. It's stunning. And so please look at this video if you haven't so that you understand really the mechanism. And hopefully this will put a stop to the comments of such that I want him to stop tapping the ATM. Hopefully he just does debt from now on. Hopefully he does the ATM. There is still a lot of misunderstanding in the market. Misunderstanding on X about, oh, MicroStrategy is all about debt. It's all about borrowing money. It's a Ponzi, right? This is not a debt story. MicroStrategy is not a debt story anymore. For the past now 7, almost 8 months, MicroStrategy has been a common story, mostly a common story. He's gone way harder on the common, on the ATM, than he has on the convertible debt. Much harder on the common. So this is mostly a common story. And he's running out of money. As you know, if you follow MicroStrategy, he's running out of money on the common. If he bought another billion, he's going to have what? Just only $1 billion or $1.5 billion left? Very little money left. So I hope that on the call, during the earnings, I hope that we get another ATM plan for the common. Some people suggested in my comment section that we need a $42 billion ATM, right? 42, the answer to everything. I really hope we get a $42 billion new ATM plan for the common in the next week announced, and that way you can continue to generate yield via issuing an ATM. I think this is so powerful, so beautiful, so simple. And if you listen to the latest podcast of Saylor is an addict to simplicity. And this is perhaps the best way to go to have a simple strategy. This strategy is simple. Saylor strategy got insane recognition this week, by the way. And the biggest recognition, of course, is 21 Capital 21, formerly known as CEP. That was the SPAC. And I made this video telling you my thoughts about the MicroStrategy copycat. And I praised the Jack Mallers, right? I praised Jack Mallers. I think Jack Mallers is a great figure in Bitcoin. He's targeted towards younger Bitcoiner. He speaks like younger Bitcoiners, but Jack Mallers is an impressive figure, and I'm so happy that he joined the train. I did not like that slide in the investor presentation for 21 Capital. I did not like that slide. I thought it was entirely against the ethos of Bitcoin. And I am growing incredibly confident that that's not his doing. I don't think Jack Mallers did that slide. I just don't. I have a hard time believing in because Jack Mallers is a good guy. I mean, I've watched many of his videos. He's a good guy. If you can get over the Gen Z speak and the style and the look and the hoodie, he's a good guy. And so the highest form of flattery though is copy. And I want to say that even though at the beginning I thought, Saylor didn't talk about 21 when I made the video. So I was like, is Saylor offended? What's going on? Saylor did not talk about the 21. Well, it's simply because he hadn't read the news when I made the video is what I'm guessing. Because actually Saylor was the bigger man, if you assume that slide wasn't called for like I do. And not only he was a bigger man, but he congratulated them twice. He congratulated the CEO of Tether for copying them. And he congratulated Jack Mallers himself for copying them and wishing them wishing them a lot of success. So Saylor was the bigger man, and this is very indicative of my view of really the Bitcoin world. There are no enemies in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a positive-sum game. Everybody's on the same boat. Anybody who buys Bitcoin helps everyone who already owns Bitcoin, helps the network. This is kind of like the English language, right? If you speak English, you want more people to speak English. Because if more people speak English, then you become valuable. You become more valuable. Your ability to speak English increases as more people speak English, right? If you have the telephone, you want everybody else to have the telephone because your ownership of the telephone increases as the whole world gets the telephone. If you have Bitcoin, you want everybody else to buy Bitcoin because the value of your own Bitcoin increases by people joining you. And, this is something that I've been convinced of for a while. As you know, on this channel, I hate moats, I hate rent-seeking, I hate competition. I believe in 0 to 1. I believe in monopolies. I believe that monopoly is the most efficient way to organize society. And of course, if you read John Nash, don't read John Nash. It's kind of rusty. But if you read about the theories of John Nash and game theory, you will realize that really competition is really an anomaly of the Industrial Revolution that is built on scarce resources that we had during the Industrial Revolution. A lot of the fiat world. A lot of the scarcity mindset, a lot of the competition mindset. Oh, you got to have a moat. You got to make sure you got a patent on the EpiPen, because if you have a patent on an EpiPen, you can charge people $500. You stop charging them $30 for the pen. You start them $500 because they don't have a choice, because they need to buy the EpiPen. Because if they have an epilepsy crisis, if they have a crisis and they don't have the pen, well, they die. So because of that, they don't have a choice. So you need to upcharge them, and you have a moat, you have a patent, right? This form of doing business, I think, is on its way out. And the businesses that win nowadays are the businesses that don't adopt this way of doing business. And so that's why it's so good to me to see that Saylor welcomes the new company. Welcome, please do the same thing as me. Fundamental change in the way we run business. I wish myself 21 a lot of luck, and I will track 21 and keep monitoring 21. It seems like it's a very rich stock. It seems like it's going to be very expensive on Monday, and so I'm not interested. I'm sticking with MicroStrategy. But if 21 itself runs into a valley of despair a few months from now, and if it starts trading at a price to NAV of 1.1 or 1.2, you bet I'll be interested. But not right now. It's a little too rich for my blood. Anyways, the idea of the week, and there's multiple accounts that tweeted that on X. In the MSTR crowd, if you know the account that actually started this whole idea, please share it in the comment section. The point is, how should you value MicroStrategy, right? That's the big question of the market. Nobody knows how to value MicroStrategy. That's the big question. And someone said, oh, well, actually, you should value MicroStrategy with the replacement cost of 538,000 Bitcoin. Replacement cost of 538,000 Bitcoin should be what MicroStrategy is trading at, which is a very, very elite thought, if you ask me. It's a stunning thought, because the question is, how do you accumulate 538,000 Bitcoin without making the price explode? How do you do that? Right? You can't hide it. Everything is public on Bitcoin. It's not like you can accumulate stealthily. Whenever there's a big wallet who starts having a few thousand Bitcoins, the entire community starts tracking that wallet, so you can't really hide it, right? And then OTC desks won't help you unless you have maybe a decade ahead of you of like stealthy buying. OTC desk won't help you. In fact, this is the level of on OTC desk, and of course, so many institutional buyers are on OTC desk. There's only 120,000 Bitcoin on OTC desk, and obviously there's no way that you could get those 120,000 Bitcoin even if you wanted to. So OTC desks are getting drained. In fact, when I show you that chart, you can see in the history of OTC, and that's going back until 2017. In the history of OTC desk, we've never gone past the amount of Bitcoin on Saylor's balance sheet, right? We've never gone past 500,000. Actually 480,000. We've never gone past 480,000 Bitcoin listed on the OTC desk. And of course, the OTC desk is where everybody wants to buy, because if you buy on OTC, you're not making the price go up. You're not making the price go up when you buy on OTC. So it's nearly impossible, right? It wouldn't be possible. There's not enough Bitcoin for sale on the OTC desk. So how do you catch up to MicroStrategy? How can a company catch up to MicroStrategy without making the price of Bitcoin go up stupidly high, right? You can't do that. If you start trying to put that buying pressure to try to catch up to MicroStrategy, you will make the price of Bitcoin go stupidly high, and you will not be able to catch up because the price of Bitcoin will go high so much that you will just not be able to buy as many Bitcoin. So what's the value? What's the replacement cost of 500,000 Bitcoin? Is it 10 times more than 50 billion? I don't know, probably between 5 and 10 times more than 50 billion, because you would definitely make the price shoot up if you tried to accumulate this much Bitcoin. So, and by the way, the miners won't help you. First of all, they don't mine anything anymore, 450 a day. That's a joke, right? All of the miners of the world only mine 450 a day. And the biggest miners in the world are not going to sell you their bag. Mara said, I'm not selling the bag. Mara is actually trying to buy Bitcoin on the open market, on the OTC. So Mara is not selling their bag, and they are the second largest holder of Bitcoin. And CLSK, yeah, they said they were going to start selling, but it's like excess Bitcoin beyond the hodl bag. They are not touching the hodl bag. So I guess they gave in a little bit, but barely, right? You're going to have what? What are you going to have? Like 20 Bitcoins a day from CleanSpark? I mean, it's like it's ridiculous. No. In my view, this is a like I said, an elite thought. How do you catch up to that? Well, in my view, we've reached a point where only a very wealthy nation state can catch up to that. Like the U.S. potentially could, but that's it. That's it. And so this is a very powerful idea, and I love that this idea was all over X. Changing the topic, let's talk about HIMS briefly. So as you know, HIMS is my third largest position. Number 1, MSTR. Number 2, Tesla. Number 3, HIMS. By the way, HIMS, if we start with the SPAC price, and we have to do that, right? Because it was really interested in the SPAC price. If we start with the SPAC price for HIMS, you'll be pleased to know that we're still beating the NASDAQ. So that's a stunning performance. Love it. Love that we're still beating the NASDAQ after we've been beaten down 59% since the peak. And we're up only 16%. So we still beat the NASDAQ, but we're up only 16% in 10 months, right? 10 months. 10 months. So yeah, we're up only that, which is crazy. 16% only. So this stock has been a roller coaster. And as a reminder, HIMS is still the cheapest, highest quality stock that I have in my spreadsheet, because as far as quality goes, I would argue HIMS is probably a very, very high quality company. You know, I told you I have 3 buckets, right? Bitcoin derivatives and Bitcoin. Bucket number 1, that's a pure beat the denominator play. That's a pure fiat disappearance play. Then I have cheapest stocks of quality. And that's stocks that I buy only based on the valuation. And then I have stocks that I buy only based on quality, and I don't care about the valuation. My highest quality stocks, like Tesla, for example, like PLTR, for example, like Robinhood, for example, the highest quality, don't care about the valuation. I would put HIMS in the highest quality bucket. HIMS is the highest quality bucket, but it also is the cheapest quality bucket, which is so rare to find. The only thing HIMS is missing is Bitcoin, quite frankly. Like if HIMS started to be a Bitcoin treasury company, oh my gosh, it would be such a no-brainer. Anyways, this company is high quality. recession-proof product. Nobody's going to quit ED pills, even if they lose their job. That's like the last thing they quit. They'll stop paying their car payment before they quit that pill. That's my viewpoint. 90% subscription, 10x cheaper than Trad Health, sometimes more cheap, even cheaper than 10x cheaper. So, right, classic 0 to 1. When you collapse the cost of something by an order of magnitude, people have no choice but flock to you, and you become, a giant. You become a monopoly or a near monopoly very quick. They have an actual flywheel. The more people sign up, the better the data, the better the data, the better the care, the more people sign up, the more people sign up, the better the data, right? Flywheel from good to great. Popularized by Amazon. They have a land and expand model. Of course, they don't land in countries, they land in categories. They started menopause recently. Weight loss is the category everybody talks about. They are going to do testosterone, HRT. They're going to do that pretty soon. This is the land and expand model. I'm sure with the tribe, with the blood sampling network, they're going to get into diabetes. Diabetes is going to be a huge business for HIMS. What if people get their diabetes treated via a HIMS subscription? Think about how much money they're going to make. You got enormous margin and enormous growth, and the stock is so cheap in my spreadsheet. In fact, it's trading 2.5 times next year for earnings. Only 3 times forward gross profit. Adjusted EBITDA is, it doesn't matter for this company because it's too early. Productivity over $1 million, right? Nearly 1.5 million productivity. This stock is 0.08. It's very rare for me to find a stock under a 0.1 on the spreadsheet. I still love HIMS as much as day one, even though it's up 128% over the past 52 weeks. And of course, HIMS is a roller coaster. LifeMD has barely moved. I look at those two as a pair, right? And I told you, was it 2 videos ago? I said, I prefer HIMS now. Well, turns out there was a rally in LifeMD recently, but no rally in HIMS. What's going on? The pair is looking even worse. HIMS is looking even cheaper than LifeMD. I liked LifeMD when LifeMD was trading at $7 and HIMS was trading at $70. I liked LifeMD very much back then. Now that HIMS is trading at more than $6 and LifeMD is trading at 28, the ratio is much more favorable towards HIMS. So I am adding HIMS right now. And the volatility is real for HIMS. A lot of people, I know people who buy HIMS actually for the options and who play the options game on HIMS because they like that volatility. And think about that. The question is, are we going to get a short squeeze? Think about the volatility. Let me get to this in a second. The volatility is loading for HIMS. Shout out to HIMS House. Absolutely great organization, company, YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it. I think I love that they created this. I love their reporting. HIMS House, short interest, 30%. 30% of the float is short. Yeah, I agree with absolute insanity. That's absolute insanity. It means the market loves TradFi, the market loves insurance, the market still lives in the world of moats, they still live in the world of competition, they forgot about how businesses work in the 21st century, and that's why I think you have an edge. If you understand the new models of business, the new models of analysis, you have an edge. I agree with that, that's entirely ridiculous. That's setting up for a short squeeze. Another sign that things may be starting to get juicy on HIMS is the HIMS with a Z. HIMS with a Z, the 2x long MCTF. And if you follow Tesla, you probably know TSLL. If you follow MicroStrategy, you know MSTX. If you follow Palantir, you know PLTU. SMCI, you know SMCX, right? You know this air, you know this feeling, right? These companies, Defiance, they make money on options, right? And so they don't write an instrument like this if the options market is not deep enough for them to be able to write an instrument like this. And the fact that they wrote this instrument makes me believe that, in their meeting somewhere, they're like, okay, well, HIMS is going to be the next big stock. It's going to be the next hot stock. We need to cater to retail investors, and we need to offer that product. This tells me that volatility, in my view, on HIMS is going to keep increasing. I get a SMCI feel, I get a Palantir feel. I just get that feel, and so the conclusion of the video is whatever happens, some people told me, oh, well, I'm waiting for a tweet about, say, healthcare, or about a healthcare tariff or a pharma tariff. And when there's a tweet about a pharma tariff, HIMS will drop, 10%, 15%. even if HIMS is compounding the drugs in the USA mostly, and they have some supply from India, but it doesn't really matter because your cost of goods sold is next to nothing. Your gross margin is so high that even if you double the cost of your ingredients, that really doesn't matter. But they're like, okay, well, the market is still going to overreact. Whether it matters for a real business or not, the market is still going to overreact. And some people are waiting and saying, oh, I want to buy HIMS in the 20 range or in the $22 range. I am definitely not playing this game. I am giving the price that Mr. Market gives me for HIMS. I'm taking that price and then I'm boarding a roller coaster and I'm loving the roller coaster. And so this is my roller coaster video. HIMS is going to be much more of a roller coaster. Expect a lot of coiled springs with HIMS within the next few years if the volatility machine begins to be built on HIMS like it has been built on MicroStrategy and like it has been built on PLTR, Tesla, right? Tesla, the other huge volatility machine, SMCI. So anyways, I think this is going to be an interesting play. I find HIMS way too undervalued right now, and remember on this channel we started discussing HIMS between $6 and $9, and so we're still quite nicely up, but not nearly as up as the $70. It felt better when it was 70, wasn't it? Well, I think it's getting back there, and I think it's getting past that. Everybody's talking about 100. Yeah, sure. It's going past 100 at some point, in my view. Anyways, this is obviously not financial advice, not investment advice. This is only entertainment. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.